So if you teach your child not to respect your mother because you're using your child against your mother, that child will be rebellious against everybody that is out there. You got no balls, you got no guts to go out there and confront your partner and tell them what you feel? You got to use your own child for that? Shame on you. Shame on you. That's what I think. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of My Love Advice. And today is going to be the last week before we're actually going over to the Philippines. Very excited about this. So with that said, it's only a couple of days left, and then we're up and we're gone. You know, coming back in about 3 weeks or something like that. Like 2.5 weeks or so. So anyway, with that said, I wanted to give you guys some love advice regarding relationships, like I always do. But this is going to be a slight different type of episode. And the topic of this episode is my partner is using my child against me, or parents who use their children against one another, or whatever you want to call it. You know, I don't know exactly how to put the title, but this is what this whole video is about. And I think it is very important. And the reason why I really bring this topic up and why I had the idea is because I currently and have experienced that in my own life. And with that said, I have seen both sides of it, not from me, but from other people. And I want to talk about that because I personally think this is extremely disturbing, and it is just something that is just, for me personally, it's inhumane. And especially if you know what I really mean by that and the impact of the child, because the child ultimately is the ultimate victim in that. So I know that we all, as people, we are emotional people, and sometimes things don't go the way we want. We have a beautiful partner, or beautiful husband, or beautiful wife, or whatever, and you happen to have children with them, and it cannot be any better than that. You know, extremely happy and a beautiful relationship. But sometimes, you know, the relationship turns sour, and it doesn't really go the way that you would hope it would go. You know, it could be anybody's fault. It could be the husband's fault. It could be the wife's fault. It could be even the kid's fault, or really it's not the kid's fault, because usually the kid is just an innocent being in between, and it's ultimately the parents who have to raise the children in a way that makes the children you know, behave in a certain way and being disciplined and acting normal in society. So really the child is usually most often the innocent in between. However, sometimes the relationship really doesn't go the way that you intended to go, and you may have gotten very bitter against your partner, and you are very upset and you are very disappointed or whatever. And sometimes when you have children, you have to leave the child in between, because you know you are separating, and the child is usually the one who feels abandoned and feels like, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Why are my parents not together? Or why are they living in two different households, or whatever? And the child is usually wondering, and you know, and don't know exactly what's going on, especially if the child is really young and don't really grasp the impact of their parents and why they are not together anymore. Eventually a child will notice that, even though they're very young, they notice that something is not right. You know, my parents used to be always together. Now I don't see them together. I see my dad over there, and I see my mom over there, and something is not right. So even a 5-year-old kid can realize that. Even younger than that, 4 or 3, you know, depending on their and their, you know, level of intelligence that they already accumulated. Anyway, with that said, there are parents out there that will use their kid against their parents, you know, kind of like as bait or as a weapon. And I mean, you can put a whole bunch of different ideas of how the parents can use their kid against the other parent. You know, some parents say to their kids that the other parent is not a good parent or really bad, talks really bad behind their back to their child, and the child, especially the child is really young, doesn't know any better. You know, the parents, the children normally believe whatever their father or the mother say, and they take their word, you know, because that's what they know. That's all they know. You know, it's the parents. You know, I gotta listen to it. However, if the child is being taught to look down on the other parent, whether it's the mother or the father or vice versa or whatever, it starts to raise a kind of confusion to the child. The child doesn't know what's going on because usually the child sees their mom and their dad normally as equal, you know, because, you know, the child is being loved by both of them, you know, no matter what's going on between the two parents. And when one person starts to use the child against the other person, whether the mother or the father, don't matter, it creates a inner damage inside the child that is far beyond what we can comprehend. And it has a long-term effect on the child, depending on what you tell the child against the other parent, whether it's something very insignificant or something that is very bad or whatever you want to call that. It creates a type of confusion inside the child where the child is confused and doesn't know really what's going on. And what happens is that the child doesn't even know how to properly process that. The child is contradicted and confused. This is the first part of the damage that the child will be getting through that, you know. And depending upon how often you do that, I believe that the more you do this, obviously, the more damaging it can be towards the child. And it really has a very negative impact on the child in the long run. Now, this is the first type of damage you can create towards the child. The other damage that you will create on the child, depending on what you tell the child against the other parent, is that the child will accumulate a type of bitterness inside them. And guys, I mean, if the child is smart enough, the child will have a bitterness towards both of the parents, you know, even the one that is the accuser, because the child will realize, you know what, my father or my mother is always blaming the other person. And I know better that my mother is not like that, or my father is not like that. And it goes both ways. And sometimes, you know, the child realizes, if the child doesn't know that and is not smart enough, then the child will look at it in a different way and say, you know what, I guess my father's right. I'm supposed to hate my mother. Or I guess my mother's right. I'm supposed to hate my father. And ultimately what you're doing is you are destroying your child, you know, because the child is the ultimate victim in the whole process. You know, no matter how you look at that, it is always going to be a negative impact on the child. And the child, when the child grows up, the child will have some kind of a bitterness towards their parents, you know, whether it's just one or both of them or whatever. And because the child has been taught a lie, even if it is the truth, I believe that you should not tell your children what kind of feeling you have towards the other parent or towards your partner, because the child doesn't see your mother or your father the same way that you see your partner, you know, and you should never put the child in between the both of you. And I believe personally that this is extremely immature. It is dangerous. It is childish. It is idiotic. It is just plain stupid. It is just the worst thing that you can do to a child. And anybody who does this is a complete selfish, self-centered person who I personally believe is evil beyond, because a child is innocent and should not be a part of your argument with your partner. I believe it is completely disgusting, and it is just perverted, and you should be ashamed of yourself if you do this to your child, you know. And I have bitterness towards other people in my life, whether it's my partner or friends or whatever, even relatives, family, you know. But there will never be a part when no matter how much I hate the other person, or no matter how much I hate my partner or whatever, that I will use my child against that person, no matter how much bitterness I have, because I know personally that I will damage my child just to give me a temporary satisfaction about the other person. Now I told her, so I feel good because I told my child to tell her that, you know. You are damaging your child, and I could never do this to my child, no matter how much I hate the other partner, you know, because the child is pure and innocent, and the child sees me as a father, as a role model, and the child sees the mother as a role model, and that you don't want to destroy, because what happens is this: if you say it often enough to the child, and the child gets literally like brainwashed by this kind of thinking, first of all, the child doesn't know how to handle this. Okay, as a child grows up and gets older, guess what happens? The child will have this negative mentality upon their parents. And what happens is, when the child grows up and turns into an adult and never gets taught any different way, then the child will use that mentality in their own relationship and will not really respect the other partner, or not even respect people in general, because the child has been taught not to respect their mother. And the mother or the father is the highest person on earth that a child can respect. So if you teach your child not to respect your mother because you're using your child against your mother, that child will be rebellious against everybody that is out there. You know, your school teacher, as the child is still young. When the child gets older, the child will be rebellious against their friends, against authority figures, against their supervisor at work. The child will become a complete self-destructive person, depending on the type of damage you're doing on the child. That is just, you know, it just has a negative impact. I've seen many children, they are so depressed, they are so down, you know, they get bullied at school and everything like that. Some children don't know how to handle this because no one tells them any other way. They don't teach them any love. And what happens is that the child is hopeless and doesn't know what to do. And sometimes there are cases, I've even seen myself in the news, where children have taken their own life because there's no one that they can talk to, because all their life they've been taught to hate the other person, the other partner. And some children are not smart enough and they cannot do this. They cannot handle this. And some people some children, even when they grow up, whether they're young or older, whatever, they commit suicide, you know? So it ultimately turns into the ultimate destruction of the child, where the child will actually one day take his own life or her own life, you know, depending on the type of damage you do. So it goes far beyond just saying, you know what, tell your mother that she's a bad person, or tell your father that he doesn't really love you, you know, that much how I love you. Anything you want to say, anything you tell your child against your other partner is this complete, immature, evil, ridiculous, selfish. You know, I call you guys a bastard and an evil person when you do this to your child, you know, and you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself when you do that. So the reason why I'm really hooked up with this is because I wanted to talk about this topic for a while. And like I said, I've experienced in my own life. I'm experiencing it in my own life. And it is just something that is just, you know what? You are hurting your child. You are not hurting your other partner. You're not hurting his or her mother. You're not hurting his or her daddy. You're hurting your own kid. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? If that's what you want, and that's what you know you're doing, that's even worse. You know, there's one way of being stupid, not knowing what you're actually doing, but there's another way of doing it on purpose. Then that actually means that you're not only hating your partner, but you're hating your own child, because you should be smart enough to realize that your child is the ultimate victim in this process. So you as a father or you as a mother, man, I don't want to curse, but grow the F up and talk to your partner directly if you have something bad to say. You know, first of all, you are chicken shit. And I'm saying it for the first time, a curse word. You are chicken shit not to confront your partner, but using your child because you're too afraid of telling your partner what you want to say to that person. What, you got no phone? You got no balls? You got no guts to go out there and confront your partner and tell them what you feel? You got to use your own child for that? Shame on you. Shame on you. That's what I think. You know, you are hurting your child. You are damaging your child, and you should be freaking ashamed of yourself. I wish you nothing but bad luck in your life. And I'm sorry to say that. I do ask God to forgive you, and I pray for you. Whoever you are watching this video, think about what you're doing. You know, you should be ashamed to the core. You know, don't use your child against your other partner, because this is just a damaging thing that you can do. Okay? So, with that said, that's what I wanted to say, and that's what I want to get on my chest. So, this for now is my love advice, even though it was a little bit stronger than I normally say. But this is just a topic that's very sensitive to me. And I hope that you like what you hear. And if you do like what you hear, please subscribe to our channel, Innocent Love. We want to grow this channel. We want to give great content towards all the people who are listening to our videos, watching our videos. We want to educate. We want to entertain. We want to do some life experiences, some games, stuff like that. So there's a lot going on this channel, and we hope that you subscribe and be part of us. We also go live every Sunday, except for the next 3-4 weeks as of this video. We won't be going live on the weekend because we're going to be in the Philippines. So we're actually going to be there next week. We're going to go there. So I'm really excited about that. Anyway, with that said, like, share, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate that. And let's make this happen. Okay? With that said, peace out, everybody. Bye.
Bye.